Rain fell in thin sheets across the valley of wrecked metal, turning ash into mud and making every step heavy. The sky above was a bruised purple, lit now and then by distant lightning that flashed over the broken spines of crashed ships. The battle was over, but the silence was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that waited for someone to make a mistake. Daniel Hale moved through the debris with a rescue pack on his back and a scanner in his hand. His visor kept the rain from his eyes, but it could not block the smell of burned fuel and hot circuitry. He was not wearing the polished armor of the famous human Marines. His suit was practical, dark, and marked with the orange stripe of Coalition Search and Recovery. He was a worker, the person sent after the heroes were done, to pull the living out of the dead. Behind him, 3 other technicians searched nearby, calling out into the wreckage, listening for answers. Above them, drones drifted like quiet insects, shining beams of light into holes where people might be trapped. Daniel's scanner gave soft clicks as it checked for life signals. Most were weak. Many were gone. The Coalition had lost ships. The enemy had lost ships. The valley was full of strangers who had died far from home, and Daniel hated that thought more than the rain. He paused beside a cracked panel and brushed mud away from an emblem. A curved symbol, like a crescent wrapped around a star. Royal. His stomach tightened. Only one kind of ship carried that emblem. He looked up. Ahead, half buried in the slope, lay a sleek transport with shattered wings. Its hull was split open like a broken shell. The royal crest still glimmered faintly in the rain, stubborn as pride. Daniel opened a channel to his team. "I found the Alari transport," a voice answered with static. "Copy, be careful." That area is still unstable.
Unstable was a polite word.
Royal transports were built with layered shields and power cores that did not like being cracked open. And royal transports also carried passengers that could start wars if someone made the wrong move. Daniel stepped closer anyway. His scanner tone changed, not just a faint click now, but a steady warning beep. Life. Not strong, but real. He climbed over a bent beam and ducked under a hanging cable that hissed with leaking coolant. Inside the transport, the air was cold and smelled like ozone. The lighting was gone, but his suit lamp cut a clean path through the darkness. The first thing he saw was blood. Not red. Alari blood was a shimmering blue-silver that looked like liquid moonlight spilled across the floor. It had pooled under a seat and ran in slow rivers toward a crack in the hull. The second thing he saw was the guards. They stood like statues in the broken cabin, tall and narrow-shouldered, their armor marked with the same royal crescent. Their helmets were open, showing pale faces and eyes that glowed softly, not from anger but from an inner light. That light was dim now, like candles near the end of their wax. One guard took a step forward, weapon raised but not firing. "Halt!" the guard said. His voice came through a translator, calm but sharp. "You are not authorized!" Daniel lifted both hands, palms open. "Search and recovery!" "I'm here for survivors." The guard's eyes flicked to the scanner in Daniel's hand. The weapon did not lower. "There are no survivors," the guard said. Daniel's scanner beeped again, louder. "There is," Daniel replied. He nodded toward the rear of the cabin, where the signal pulsed. The guard's jaw tightened. Another guard behind him shifted, as if ready to block the path. Daniel did not move forward yet. He kept his voice steady, the way he spoke to frightened civilians and stubborn soldiers. "I'm not here to cause problems. If someone is alive, we get them out." "That's the rule." The first guard stared at him for a long moment. Rainwater dripped from the broken roof, tapping against metal like a slow clock. Finally, the guard spoke again. "Our healers call." Daniel glanced at his scanner readout. The numbers were falling fast. "They won't arrive in time," he said. A low, pained sound came from the rear of the cabin, soft enough that a human ear might have missed it. Daniel's heart clenched. He pointed again.
"You hear that? She's still here!" At the word she, the guard stiffened.
The air seemed to change. Even without being told, Daniel knew. Princess. He had seen her face on coalition briefings. Princess Lyra of Iolari, heir to one of the oldest royal lines, a symbol used in speeches to remind everyone why they were allied and what was at stake.
She was not supposed to be here. Not on a front line, not in a valley of wreckage.
But war did not ask permission. Daniel stepped around a collapsed seat, slow and careful. The guard's weapon tracked him.
"Do not approach,"
the guard said, voice tighter now. "Human, this is sacred. Her energy is—"
The guard stopped as if the next words were too dangerous to say out loud.
Daniel moved his lamp beam toward the rear. There, against the far wall, lay the princess. She looked smaller than she did in broadcasts, fragile in a way that made Daniel angry at the universe. Her silver skin was dull, like a star losing its shine. Her hair spread across the floor in pale strands, mixed with broken glass and ash. Dark lines crawled across her torso and arms, not like cuts, but like something burned into her from the inside. The lines pulsed with a sickly shadow light, and each pulse made her breath hitch. Daniel knelt a few feet away. His scanner gave a harsh alarm, heart rate unstable, energy field collapsing, organ failure approaching. He had treated wounded people from dozens of species. He had learned to read their systems and work around their differences. But this was not a normal wound. This looked like corrupted energy, the kind the enemy used when they wanted more than death. They wanted damage that could not be fixed. Lyra's eyelids fluttered, but she did not fully wake. Her lips parted, and a sound came out like a whisper. Daniel leaned closer, not touching. "Princess, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened a crack, silver irises unfocused. She looked at him as if he was a shape in a dream. "Cold," she whispered. Daniel swallowed. He looked over his shoulder at the guards.
"I can stabilize her."
"Let me try." "Your hands cannot touch royal blood." Daniel kept his tone gentle, but he did not back away. "If I do nothing, she dies."
"If I try, there's a chance. That's it."
A second guard stepped forward, face tight with fear. Humans are chaotic.
Your bodies carry harsh currents.
You could rupture her core. Humans were strong and loud and blunt compared to species that used energy and subtle systems. Humans were the species that survived on a rough planet and called it home. The Coalition sometimes talked about humans like they were useful tools that might explode if handled wrong. But Daniel also knew what human medics had discovered in recent months. In training, he had watched a human nurse calm the fever of a wounded alien child just by holding the child's hand. He had seen a human's steady presence bring a panicked pilot back from shock. He had read reports about bioelectric patterns, about human nervous systems acting like grounded wires for certain alien energy structures. Not guaranteed, not understood, but real enough to be studied. And right now, Lyra's life was running out faster than any study could.
Daniel pulled off one glove.
The cold air bit his skin. His hand trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. If he was wrong, he would be the man who killed the princess. He looked at Lyra's face again. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin was turning paler. The dark lines pulsed once more, and her body tensed in pain. Daniel made his choice. He reached toward her shoulder. The guard snapped, "Stop!" But the guard did not fire. Maybe it was training. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was the simple fact that everyone in that cabin understood time was cruel. Daniel's fingers touched Lyra's shoulder. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the air changed. A warmth spread through Daniel's palm, not like heat from a fire, but like the warmth of sunlight after days of storm. A faint glow formed under his skin, traveling along his hand and into her body, as if it had been waiting for a path. The dark lines on her torso flickered. They pulsed, then hesitated, as if confused. The shadow light dimmed. The guard nearest Daniel sucked in a sharp breath. What? Daniel kept his hand steady, afraid that if he moved, the connection would break. He could feel something in his own body responding, his heartbeat slowing, his breathing steadying, as if his nervous system was trying to match hers. The glow strengthened, soft but firm, spreading from his hand across her collarbone and down her arm. Her dull skin regained a faint shine like metal being polished. Lyra's eyes opened wider. She looked directly at Daniel now. For a moment, there was no fear in her gaze, only shock and something else. Recognition, maybe, or relief. Her lips moved.
Human! Daniel leaned closer. Stay with me. Don't fight it.
Just breathe. He did not know if she could even hear him, but he kept speaking anyway, because humans spoke when they were afraid, and because words were something he could control. The guards around them stared as if witnessing a miracle they had been told did not exist. Outside the transport, footsteps and voices approached. Daniel heard the sharp calls of royal escorts, the heavier boots of coalition marines, the hum of hovering lights. Aelari nobles entered first, their armor elegant and bright despite the mud. Behind them came healers carrying sleek cases, their faces set with professional calm that cracked the moment they saw Lyra. Then the queen arrived. Queen Serelith of Aelari stepped into the cabin like a storm-given shape. She was tall, her skin shining with a soft internal light that made the broken interior seem darker by comparison. Her eyes found her daughter instantly. The control on her face held for only a second, before pain slipped through.
My daughter,
she whispered, voice thick. She took a step forward, then stopped when she saw Daniel kneeling beside Lyra, bare hand on her shoulder, light flowing between them. The queen's eyes widened. The healers froze. The guards, who had been rigid, now looked like they were holding their breath. Even the humans at the doorway went quiet. Marines who had faced plasma fire without blinking now stared at the scene as if unsure whether to raise their weapons or their hands in prayer. Lyra's breathing steadied again. Her fingers twitched. The dark lines on her torso shrank slightly, pulling back like shadow retreating from dawn. A healer found his voice first.
That corruption is weakening, another healer snapped. Impossible. Only royal resonance can.
He stopped as his scanner beeped and displayed the same truth. The queen's gaze flicked from Lyra to Daniel. Human, she said, and the translator made her voice smooth but heavy with authority. Explain. Daniel kept his hand where it was. Sweat rolled down his temple despite the cold.
I don't fully understand it, he admitted.
But she was dying. I tried to stabilize her. It worked.
The queen's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in sharp focus.
Your touch is inside her field, Daniel nodded carefully. I think my body's electrical pattern is giving her something stable to hold on to. Like grounding, like a bridge.
The queen looked to her healers.
Is he harming her? The lead healer stepped forward, scanning quickly. His expression shifted from disbelief to stunned respect. No, Your Radiance. Her vitals are improving.
Her core is less turbulent. The corruption is retreating. A low murmur swept through the cabin. The queen's hands clenched, then relaxed. She approached, slow and controlled, until she stood just behind Daniel. Her presence made the hair on Daniel's arms rise. This was not just a mother. This was a ruler whose decisions moved fleets. Lyra's eyes lifted toward her mother. Her lips parted. "Mother," she whispered, voice thin but real. The queen's composure cracked. She knelt, one elegant knee touching the dirty floor without care. She reached out toward Lyra's face, then stopped a few inches away, as if afraid that her own energy might disrupt what Daniel was doing. Her voice shook. "You are here. You are still here." Lyra blinked slowly. Her gaze drifted back to Daniel's hand. "Warm," she said again, but this time the word carried wonder. Daniel swallowed. "Keep breathing. You're doing great." The queen looked at Daniel with a strange mixture of gratitude and fear. "Do not stop," she said softly, as if asking instead of commanding. Daniel nodded once. He did not trust his voice. Minutes passed like hours. The rain outside continued to fall. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the cabin in bright white for a heartbeat, revealing the glow between Daniel and Lyra like a living thread. At last the lead healer spoke carefully. "We must move her. The transport is unstable." "If I let go, will she crash again?" The healer hesitated. "Her field is still weak. The corruption is wounded, not gone." The queen's eyes sharpened. "Then he comes with us." A human marine at the doorway shifted. "Ma'am, is that safe?" "My daughter lives because of his hand. That is safety enough." Daniel felt the weight of that sentence settle on his shoulders. He was not a political man. He did not want to be part of royal decisions. He just wanted to save someone. But he also could not deny what was happening. Lyra's fingers curled slightly, and her hand lifted from the floor with effort. Slowly, as if following instinct, she reached toward Daniel's wrist. Her touch was light, almost nothing. Yet the moment her fingers brushed his skin, the glow surged stronger. Damn! It felt like a door opening inside his chest, letting warm air flood in. His heartbeat synchronized with hers in a way that made his mind spin. Lyra's eyes widened. "You?" Daniel stared at her.
"Are you okay?"
She swallowed, voice trembling but clear enough to hear.
"You are."
Steady. The queen's face went still, as if hearing a truth that changed everything. The healers and guards exchanged worried looks. They were witnessing something that would not stay secret. Not in a palace full of spies. Not in a coalition full of fear. The lead healer lowered his scanner and spoke in a quiet, stunned voice. "Your Radiance! Her core is responding to him as if he is a stabilizing anchor." Daniel did not understand the deeper meaning, but he understood the tone. This was not a small medical detail. This was a discovery that could shift alliances, traditions, and power. Outside, the valley winds rose, pushing rain harder against the broken hull. A distant explosion echoed, the last breath of a damaged engine finally giving up. The queen stood smoothly, eyes still on Daniel. "Human Daniel Hale," she said, and her voice carried formal weight now. "You will accompany us to the Royal Medical Wing?" "You will remain at my daughter's side until my healers declare her stable." Daniel's throat went dry. I can do that. But I'm just a tech. I don't... You do, the queen interrupted, calm but absolute. You do now. Lyra's fingers tightened faintly around his wrist, as if she did not want the connection to break. Daniel looked down at her, and in her eyes he saw something that frightened him more than battle. Hope, because hope came with responsibility. The guards moved quickly to prepare a stretcher made for Alari bodies. The healers adjusted devices, careful not to interfere. 2 Marines secured the broken doorway and watched the valley for threats. Daniel kept his hand on Lyra's shoulder as they lifted her gently. The glow dimmed slightly during the movement, and Lyra's face tightened in pain. But when Daniel steadied his grip, her breathing evened again. They carried her out into the rain. The valley stretched around them, filled with wreckage and shadows. Hovercraft lights cut through the storm. In the distance, the Royal Medical Shuttle waited, engines humming. As they moved, Daniel noticed something else. The soldiers, human and alien, were watching him. Some looked amazed, some looked uneasy, a few looked angry, as if his existence was a problem. Daniel felt a chill that had nothing to do with the rain. If this was real, if humans could do this, then people would want to use it. Some would want to control it. Some would want to destroy it. The Queen walked beside the stretcher, her posture proud and protective. Guards formed a tight circle, and Daniel, still touching the princess, moved with them like a man who had stepped into a story far larger than his own life. Lyra's eyes stayed half open as the shuttle ramp lowered. She turned her head slightly, looking at Daniel through the rain. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it reached him clearly. "Do not leave." The Royal Medical Shuttle rose smoothly from the broken valley, leaving behind the rain, smoke, and silent wreckage of the battlefield. Inside, the lights were soft and steady, designed to calm both body and mind. The hum of advanced systems filled the air, quiet but powerful, like a heartbeat that never stopped. Daniel stood beside the medical platform where Princess Lyra rested. His hand remained gently on her shoulder, exactly where the healers had instructed him to keep it. The warm glow between them had settled into something softer now. Not a bright surge, but a steady flow, like a calm river. Around them, ALARI healers moved carefully, adjusting scanners and projecting holographic displays. Symbols and energy patterns floated in the air, shifting constantly as they monitored her condition. One healer whispered to another, their voices low but urgent. Her core stabilization remains dependent on human resonance. The other nodded slowly, eyes wide.
"This has never been recorded." Daniel tried not to listen, but it was impossible. Every word made him feel more out of place.
He cleared his throat quietly. Is she going to be okay? He was older than the others, his silver skin marked with faint lines that showed age and experience. His expression held respect now instead of doubt. "She lives because of you," he said simply. Her vital energy was collapsing. Your presence created a stabilizing field. Without it, she would not have survived long enough for us to reach her.
Daniel shifted uncomfortably. Praise made him uneasy.
"I just did what anyone would do." The healer tilted his head slightly. "Not anyone."
Only you. Lyra stirred slightly on the platform. Her eyes opened halfway, silver irises clearer now, though still tired. She looked first at the ceiling, then slowly turned toward Daniel, her gaze focused on his face. "You stayed," she said softly. Daniel gave a small smile. "I said I would." She watched him quietly, studying him as if trying to understand something deeper than words. The Queen stood nearby, arms folded, observing everything. Her presence filled the room even without speaking. Several guards lined the walls, still alert despite the safety of the shuttle. After a moment, the Queen stepped closer. "Human Daniel," she said, voice calm but firm. "Explain again what you felt when you touched her." Daniel hesitated. He was not good with formal conversations, especially not with royalty. But he answered honestly.
It felt like...
Her energy was unstable, like static. When I touched her, my body reacted. My heartbeat slowed. My breathing matched hers. It felt natural, like balancing something that was falling.
The healers exchanged looks. That matches the readings, one murmured. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly in thought. Humans are known for resilience, not energy sensitivity, yet you act as a stabilizer. Daniel shrugged awkwardly. Maybe it's just me? The lead healer shook his head. We have scanned him thoroughly. His biological patterns are within human norms. That answer seemed to trouble the Queen more than comfort her. Lyra lifted her hand weakly and rested it lightly against Daniel's wrist. The glow brightened slightly at the contact. She closed her eyes briefly, as if enjoying the warmth. Daniel felt the connection strengthen again, like two rhythms aligning perfectly. Your presence quiets the storm, she murmured. He blinked, unsure how to respond. The shuttle entered orbit, and outside the viewing panels the darkness of space stretched endlessly, filled with distant stars. Ahead, the Alari flagship appeared, an enormous structure shaped like curved wings of light, elegant and powerful. As they docked, more royal guards waited. Word had spread quickly. Everyone knew the princess had been saved, and everyone knew a human was involved. Daniel noticed the looks as they moved through the corridors. Some curious, some grateful, some suspicious. He tried to focus only on Lyra. The royal medical wing was unlike anything he had seen. Smooth white surfaces curved gently, glowing with soft light. The air felt warmer, filled with a faint musical hum that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Lyra was transferred carefully onto a larger healing bed. The healers worked quickly, connecting energy lines and adjusting fields around her body. When Daniel moved back slightly, unsure if he should give them space, Lyra's breathing immediately became uneven. "Stay," she whispered. The lead healer nodded firmly. "Do not break contact yet." Daniel stepped closer again, placing his hand gently against her shoulder.
Instantly, her breathing stabilized. The healers exchanged astonished glances again.
One of them said quietly, "Her system is forming a resonance loop with him." The Queen turned toward Daniel. "It appears you are not free to leave just yet." He nodded.
I understand. Inside, however, he felt nervous. He was a simple technician surrounded by advanced science and royal expectations.
He worried about doing something wrong without realizing it. Hours passed. Lyra slept deeply while the healers worked. Daniel remained beside her, barely moving. Food and water were brought for him, but he only took small amounts, afraid that even shifting position might disturb the connection. At last, Lyra opened her eyes again. This time they were clear and bright. She looked stronger. Her gaze moved around the room, then returned to Daniel. A small smile appeared on her lips. "You look tired," she said. Daniel laughed softly. "The one who almost died." She considered that quietly. "Yes, but I remember your voice before I woke. It was calming." He felt slightly embarrassed. "I just talk when I'm nervous." "I hope you continue," she said gently. The Queen watched their exchange carefully, saying nothing for a moment. Then she spoke. "My daughter, do you feel pain?" Lyra shook her head slowly. "Not like before. The corruption feels distant. Weak." Relief flashed across the Queen's face, though she quickly hid it behind royal composure. The lead healer approached with new readings. "Your radiance, her energy core is stabilizing beyond expectations. The human's influence appears to accelerate her natural healing."
The Queen looked at Daniel again.
You have changed more than one life today." He shook his head quickly. "I didn't mean to change anything. I just wanted to help." Lyra smiled, faintly. "That is exactly why you did." Days passed inside the royal medical wing. Daniel remained near Lyra almost constantly, At first it felt strange, but gradually he became used to the rhythm of the place. He learned how the healers adjusted fields, how Aolari patients rested within glowing chambers, how energy songs played softly to encourage recovery. She could sit up now, speak clearly, and even walk short distances with assistance. Every time her energy faltered, Daniel's presence steadied her again. They began talking more. She asked about Earth, about oceans and forests, and human music. Daniel described small things rather than grand achievements. Rain on rooftops, crowded markets, people laughing during festivals. She listened with fascination.
In my world, she said once, royalty is rarely allowed to experience ordinary life.
Daniel shrugged. Sometimes ordinary life is the best part.
Meanwhile, outside the medical wing, tension grew. Some Aolari nobles questioned why a human remained so close to the princess. Rumors spread about human influence, about dangerous biological interactions, about ancient prophecies misinterpreted. The queen ignored most of it, but Daniel sensed the pressure building. One evening, as Lyra rested and the lights dimmed, she turned toward him. "Are you afraid?" she asked quietly. "Of what? Of what this means?" He considered the question honestly. "A little.
I don't understand why it works. And when people don't understand something, they get scared." She nodded slowly. "My people value balance."
You bring balance without trying. That makes them uneasy."
Daniel smiled faintly. "Humans do that a lot." Lyra laughed softly for the first time since the battle.
The sound felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. But outside the medical wing, unseen by them, a group of nobles watched through observation panels, whispering among themselves. One said quietly, "If humans can influence royal energy, the power structure changes." Another replied, "We must learn more," or "Stop it before it spreads." Inside, unaware of the growing political storm, Daniel sat beside Lyra as she drifted into peaceful sleep. The glow between them was no longer bright or dramatic. It had become something steady, gentle, and deeply natural. And for the first time since the battle, Daniel felt that maybe saving her had not just been an accident. Maybe it was the beginning of something far bigger than either of them could imagine. Morning light filtered through the curved glass walls of the Royal Medical Wing, soft and warm like a quiet promise. Outside the massive viewing panels, stars drifted slowly as the flagship moved through space. Inside, everything felt calm, but beneath that calm, there was movement, small changes that hinted something important was happening. Daniel sat beside Princess Lyra, watching the soft glow around her body pulse gently. The healers had reduced the equipment around her because she no longer needed constant support. That alone felt like a miracle compared to the broken figure he had first seen on the battlefield. Lyra stretched her fingers slowly, testing her strength. Her movements were smoother now, more confident. "You are watching me as if I might break," she said lightly without opening her eyes. Daniel smiled.
I just remember how you looked when I found you. Hard to forget. She opened her eyes and turned toward him.
"I remember pieces, pain."
Darkness. And then warmth.
"Your voice."
He felt slightly awkward under her steady gaze.
"I didn't say anything special. You stayed," she said again, repeating the same word she had spoken before. "That matters more than special words." A healer approached quietly, checking readings floating in the air.
He nodded with satisfaction. "Her energy levels are stable. This progress is beyond expectation." Daniel felt relief wash through him. But he also noticed how the healer kept glancing at him, as if studying him as much as Lyra. The motion no longer caused immediate strain, though she still moved carefully. "I wish to walk," she said. The healer hesitated.
Your
"Short distances only. I understand." Daniel stood and offered his arm without thinking. She accepted it naturally, as if they had done this many times before. As they walked slowly across the room, the faint glow between them strengthened slightly. Several healers paused their work to watch. One whispered quietly, "The resonance activates when proximity increases." Daniel pretended not to hear, but he felt self-conscious. Being studied made him uncomfortable. Lyra noticed his expression. "You dislike being observed?" "I'm used to being invisible. You saved a princess."
I suspect invisible will not remain possible.
He laughed softly. Yeah, I'm starting to realize that. They walked slowly along the window.
Outside, distant stars shimmered like scattered diamonds. Lyra paused, looking at the view. "Before the war," she said quietly, "I trained constantly to be perfect. Perfect control, perfect decisions, perfect balance."
I believed weakness was unacceptable. Daniel leaned lightly against the wall beside her.
Sounds exhausting. She smiled faintly. It was. When I fell in battle, I felt shame more than fear.
He looked at her carefully. "You shouldn't feel shame for surviving. You shouldn't feel shame for surviving."
She turned toward him, eyes serious. "My people believe leaders must stand above failure, yet you reached for me when I was at my lowest."
Daniel shrugged gently.
"That's what humans do. We help each other when things go bad." She studied him again, as if trying to understand the simplicity behind his words. Before she could reply, the doors opened and Queen Seraph entered. Her presence filled the room immediately, elegant and powerful, as always. "My daughter," she said warmly, though her eyes carried deep thought. "Mother." The Queen turned toward Daniel. Human Daniel.
I hope the medical wing has treated you well.
Yes, Your Radiance, he said respectfully.
She nodded once, then addressed both of them. "Your recovery progresses faster than any healer predicted." Lyra smiled faintly. "Thanks to him." The Queen's gaze softened briefly before becoming serious again. "There are matters we must discuss." Daniel felt tension rise in the air. The Queen motioned for the healers to leave them alone. When the room was quiet, she spoke carefully. "News of your recovery has spread through the fleet," she said to Lyra, "and news of the human's role has spread even faster." "I was afraid of that." The Queen's eyes sharpened. "Some celebrate. Others fear. There are nobles who believe humans gaining influence over royal energy could disrupt our traditions."
Lyra frowned.
"They fear change. They fear losing control," the Queen corrected gently. Daniel shifted awkwardly. "I never wanted political problems." "No," the Queen said calmly, "but history rarely asks permission." She walked closer to them, studying the faint glow between Daniel and Lyra. "Our scientists confirm what our healers suspected. Human bioelectric patterns stabilize certain Iolari energy systems."
"This has never been recorded before."
"Not even in ancient records?" "Not in any verified form," the Queen replied. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "So, what does that mean?" The Queen answered honestly. "It means you represent a discovery that will change how our species interact. And change creates both opportunity and danger." Silence settled over the room. Lyra spoke first. "What do you intend to do?" The Queen hesitated slightly, revealing her inner conflict. "Protect you." "Both of you." Daniel blinked. "Me too?" She gave him a small, serious smile. "You saved my daughter. You are under my protection now." The words carried weight. Daniel felt both honored and uneasy. Later that day, Lyra insisted on visiting the training garden, a peaceful area filled with floating lights and soft energy currents designed to help Ilari focus. Daniel accompanied her, along with a discreet group of guards. As they walked among glowing plants, Lyra seemed more relaxed than before. "This place always calms me," she said. Daniel watched the lights drift around them like slow fireflies. "It's beautiful." She stopped near a small pool of clear water. "Would you sit with me?" They sat together on a smooth stone bench. The glow between them felt natural now, almost invisible unless someone looked closely. Lyra closed her eyes briefly, focusing on her breathing. The energy currents around her responded gently. The plants nearby seemed to lean slightly toward them, their lights brightening. "Is that normal?" he asked quietly. She opened one eye and followed his gaze. Her expression shifted with surprise.
"They are responding to our combined presence." Daniel chuckled nervously.
"Great, now plants are watching me too."
She laughed softly.
For a moment, everything felt peaceful. Then one of the guards approached quickly, voice tense. "Your Radiance, a group of nobles requests immediate audience. They insist it concerns security." "Already?" The guard nodded. Daniel felt the calm atmosphere shift into something heavier. Back in the medical wing, several Alarai nobles waited. Their elegant robes marked high status, but their expressions were serious, even cold. One stepped forward. "Your Radiance," he said to the Queen, bowing slightly. "We are relieved by the princess's recovery." The words sounded polite, but the tone carried doubt. The Queen stood tall. "Speak your purpose!" The noble glanced briefly at Daniel before continuing.
"We are concerned about the humans' involvement."
Unknown biological influence could threaten royal stability. Daniel felt a flash of frustration, but remained silent. Lyra stepped forward instead.
"He saved my life."
"We do not deny that," another noble said carefully.
"But reliance on a foreign species creates vulnerability." The Queen's voice turned firm.
"Enough!"
"The human remains under my protection." The nobles bowed again, but did not look satisfied.
As they left, Daniel felt tension tightening around him like invisible threads.
Lyra turned toward him afterward. "Do not let their words trouble you."
"I've been disliked before. Comes with being human sometimes."
She watched him closely. "You hide discomfort with humor." He smiled faintly.
"Guilty."
That night, as Lyra rested, Daniel stood by the window alone, watching stars pass by. He realized his life had changed completely in just a few days. He had come to a battlefield as a simple technician. Now he stood at the center of royal politics and scientific discovery. Behind him, Lyra's voice came softly. "You are thinking too much." "Maybe." She sat up slightly, looking stronger than ever.
"Whatever happens, I am glad you reached for me."
He nodded quietly. Outside, unknown to them, a hidden faction within the fleet began moving in secret, watching and waiting for the right moment to act. Inside the medical wing, the glow between human and princess remained steady, calm, and strong, but the peace surrounding them would not last forever. The royal flagship moved silently through deep space, its curved wings glowing softly against the darkness. From the outside, it looked peaceful, almost untouched by war. Inside, however, tension had begun to grow, like a storm waiting behind clear skies. Daniel stood near the wide viewing window of the Royal Medical Wing, watching distant stars drift slowly past. The calm should have made him relaxed, but instead he felt restless. Over the past few days he had sensed something changing. Guards had doubled near the entrances. Conversation stopped when he walked past. Even the healers spoke more quietly now. Behind him, Princess Lyra practiced slow energy movements guided by a healer. Soft light flowed around her hands as she focused. Every motion looked stronger than the last. "You are distracted," she said, without turning around. Daniel smiled slightly. Am I that obvious? Yes, she replied gently.
Your shoulders tense when you think too much. He laughed quietly. Maybe I need better control.
Her silver skin shone brighter now, healthy and alive. The dark corruption that once marked her body had completely faded. I feel stronger each day, she said. Your presence still stabilizes me, but now I can stand on my own as well. That's good, Daniel said sincerely. That means you won't need me forever. Do you wish to leave? He hesitated. I don't know.
I came here as a rescue tech. I didn't expect any of this.
Before she could respond, the doors opened and Queen Seralith entered. Her expression was serious, more than usual.
My daughter, she said quietly. Daniel.
We must speak.
They both sensed the weight behind her tone. The Queen walked closer, lowering her voice.
Our security teams have detected unusual activity within the fleet.
Several nobles have formed a faction opposing the humans' involvement. Daniel sighed softly. I had a feeling. Lyra's eyes flashed with anger.
They would oppose the one who saved me? They fear change, the Queen said again, and fear often leads to poor decisions. What kind of activity? Daniel asked.
The Queen answered carefully.
Unauthorized system access attempts.
Movement of private guard units. Nothing openly hostile yet, but enough to concern me.
Lyra stepped forward. Then we confront them. No, the Queen replied gently but firmly.
Direct confrontation could provoke them. For now, we observe. Am I in danger?
The Queen met his gaze. Possibly.
Which is why you will not move without royal escort. He nodded, though the idea of being constantly guarded made him uneasy.
Later that day, Lyra insisted on visiting the ceremonial garden again. She said she needed fresh air and calm surroundings. Daniel accompanied her as always, guards forming a quiet perimeter. The garden felt peaceful at first. Floating lights drifted among tall, glowing plants. Soft energy currents moved like gentle wind. Lyra walked slowly beside him. When I was young, I used to hide here when palace life became overwhelming, she said. Daniel smiled. Even princesses need quiet sometimes.
She nodded.
Especially princesses. They sat near the clear pool again. The glow between them appeared faint but steady, like a bond that had settled into its natural form.
I have been thinking, she said after a while, about what happens after my recovery.
Daniel leaned back slightly.
What do you want to happen?
She looked at him directly.
I want to understand this connection between us.
Not as a political tool, but as something real. He felt warmth rise in his chest.
I'd like that too. Suddenly, the peaceful hum of the garden changed. A sharp vibration passed through the floor. Daniel sat upright instantly.
Did you feel that?
The guards reacted at the same moment, weapons ready. An alarm sounded faintly in the distance, quickly silenced as if someone tried to hide it. One guard spoke urgently into a communicator.
Report status.
Then lights flickered. Lyra's expression hardened. Something is wrong. Before anyone could move, several figures appeared at the far entrance of the garden. Ayalari nobles in ceremonial armor, but their movements were tense, aggressive. One stepped forward.
Your Radiance,
he said coldly. We request the human be released into our custody.
Daniel felt his stomach drop. Lyra stood immediately, placing herself slightly in front of him without thinking.
No. The noble's eyes narrowed. The human represents unknown influence. For the safety of our people, we must study him.
Queen Seralith's voice suddenly echoed from a communicator carried by one of the guards.
Stand down immediately.
You act without authorization. The noble did not move. We act for the future of our species. Energy weapons powered on with a low hum. Daniel's pulse raced. He hated being the cause of conflict. Lyra's energy flared slightly, glowing brighter around her body. You will not touch him. The noble gestured, and hidden devices activated around the garden. A faint field spread through the air, disrupting energy flows.
Lyra gasped slightly as her energy faltered.
Daniel reacted without thinking. He stepped closer and placed his hand gently on her arm. The glow surged immediately, stabilizing her again. The nobles froze, watching the phenomenon with shock. "See?" one whispered.
It is real. The leader raised his weapon. All the more reason to secure him. Before he could act, royal guards moved quickly, creating a protective barrier around Daniel and Lyra.
Energy blasts flashed through the garden, striking shields and sending ripples through the glowing plants. Daniel's heart pounded. He had never been in the middle of a royal conflict before. Lyra focused, drawing strength from the connection between them. Her energy expanded outward like a shield, merging with his stabilizing presence. The air shimmered around them. The attacking nobles hesitated, clearly unprepared for the strength of the combined energy. Queen Seralith entered the garden moments later, with elite guards behind her. Her voice carried authority that stopped everyone. Enough. The word echoed like thunder. The attacking nobles lowered their weapons slowly, realizing they had lost the moment. "You endanger my daughter and my guest," the queen said, coldly. "This rebellion ends now." Guards moved quickly, disarming the conspirators. Silence returned gradually, broken only by the soft hum of damaged systems. Lyra turned toward Daniel, breathing slightly faster. "Are you hurt?"
He shook his head. "Die war's out."
"I'm okay." "You?" She nodded. "Because of you." The queen approached, her expression both relieved and thoughtful. "This confirms what we feared. There are those who will go too far to control what they do not understand." Daniel sighed softly. "I never wanted to become something people fight over."
The queen's voice softened. "Yet you have become something more important."
A bridge between worlds. Days later, a formal ceremony was held in the grand hall of the flagship. Nobles, soldiers, and representatives from many species gathered. Queen Seralith stood before them. "Today," she announced, "we recognize a truth revealed through courage. A human reached for a dying princess, not for power or reward, but for compassion. And through that compassion, a new path has opened between our peoples." "Ooh." She turned toward Daniel. "You have shown us that strength is not only force or tradition. Why? It is kindness, resilience, and the willingness to stand beside another when hope seems lost." The crowd watched silently. Lyra stepped forward beside him. Her presence was confident, radiant. "Our future will not fear change," she said. "It will grow from it." Applause slowly filled the hall. Daniel felt overwhelmed but also peaceful. He had never imagined standing here, part of something so important. After the ceremony, they stood together by the window again. Lyra looked at him with a soft smile. "When you reached for me, you changed my fate. We changed each other." Outside, stars stretched endlessly, full of unknown journeys. The story that began with a dying princess on a battlefield had become something greater, a bond that reshaped how species understood strength, connection, and hope. And for the first time since that rainy battlefield, Daniel felt certain that reaching for her had been exactly the right choice.